Part 3. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 21. After giving up her cooking supplies, Chen-Ling put her backpack on her back. According to the estimated time and location after getting on the car, she judged from 3 possible forests that they should be in the wild boar forest at the moment. In addition, Chen-Ling stood there and felt it. The forest that blocked out the sun, no sunlight could be seen at all, and occasionally the birds could be heard, and the mosquitoes could be heard whispering. The wind blew gently on her face. Southeast wind prevails in the northern hemisphere in summer. And in the northern hemisphere, the side of the tree with lush branches and leaves usually faces south. Try to walk in the direction of the sun. The wind direction and the branches and leaves of the trees allowed Chen-Ling to roughly determine the direction. Then, she bent down and found a stick of the right length and thickness among the dead branches on the ground as a pathfinder, and walked slowly in the direction of the wind. Is Chen-Ling not afraid? It seems that after Bai Muchuan woke up, he still carefully observed for a long time before daring to move. I feel scared even through the screen. There are so many strange noises in the forest. Besides, don't you think it gets dark earlier there than here? Wow, Bai Muchuan and Zhang Qiun bumped into each other. Let's go to the next door and have a look. Male god versus male god, can't miss it. A large number of the audience left again. Zhang Qiun, who was carrying a backpack, was standing opposite Bai Muchuan at this moment. There was a bag at Bai Muchuan's feet, and all the things inside were taken out. Zhang Qiun glanced at it and saw compressed biscuits, a foldable portable shovel, and a compressed bag that looked like a sleeping bag. It feels like Zhang Yingdi will outshine any male star in the same frame. Nonsense, our brother Muchuan is so youthful and lively, and Zhang Yingdi is an old man. How can he be compared with our brother Muchuan's fair skin? That's right, can Zhang Qiun stop buying himself some hot searches that are more beautiful than others every time? I'm tired of seeing it. I wonder if they will team up. If they do, it's so pleasing to the eye. I will stay in the live broadcast room and won't leave. Bai Muchuan looked at the actor Zhang with admiration, shyly and timidly. Teacher Zhang, what a coincidence. Zhang Qiun nodded slightly. Hello. Actually, I have always been your fan. I grew up watching your works, but I didn't have the chance to tell you. It is my honor to be able to participate in the survival program with you this time. Thank you. Zhang Qiun was polite and distant. Zhang Qiun wanted to find a companion. The program team said that a maximum of 3 people can form a group. And he guessed that the survival items in everyone's bag should be different. If they are all the same, it will lose the fun. At this moment, seeing the items that Bai Muchuan put on the ground, he confirmed this. I thought I could meet the sports trio or the old dove, and they could team up to survive together. But he couldn't team up with Bai Muchuan. Nor Chen-Ling. Zhang Qiun thought about it, thanked him politely, and stood there looking at Bai Muchuan, holding the straps of his backpack with both hands, looking like he was ready to leave at any time. Bai Muchuan didn't know how to start. He was a little afraid of the dark and monsters. When he was a child, in the dark room, his sister hugged him and comforted him, telling him that his father was drunk outside and would not hurt them. This fear of the dark has never been cured. Survival in desperate situations means that he has to stay in the wilderness for 3 days and 3 nights in a dark place. He didn't want to participate in this survival program at all. He was forced to sign up by Fu Yuhei. Later, Chen-Ling was added to the guests, and he was even more resistant to autism. But it was different when Zhang Qiun joined. His agent DK said that if he could find a way to be with Zhang Qiun, he could definitely get some popularity. But at this moment, Zhang Qiun's attitude really made Bai Muchuan dare not ask for a team. Zhang Qiun waited for a while, but Bai Muchuan just stood there in silence. Zhang Qiun didn't want to waste any more time, so he said, "Then I'll leave." "Ah, okay." Bai Muchuan couldn't say anything to keep him, so he could only say, "Teacher Jang, please be careful." Bai Muchuan looked at Jang Kyun and waved his hand, and walked quickly into the depths of the forest. Alas! He missed this opportunity again. The other party was Jang Kyun, and Bai Muchuan could guess how Deke and Fu Yuhei would scold him. Bai Muchuan sighed helplessly, bent down, and began to pack up the things he took out of his bag. Just then, a rustling sound came from not far behind him. "Hey! Another guest is here? Great." Bai Muchuan turned around and greeted with a smile. "Hi, hello." There was no one. Only a large bush less than 2 meters away shook a few times and then returned to silence. Bai Muchuan's smile froze on his face. Not a human? He looked around fearfully. Even though he knew there must be cameras watching him, he still couldn't control his fear. He had never seen such a lush forest in his life. Almost every inch of land was covered with plants. There were too many trees. It was almost suffocating. Bai Muchuan calmed down. The production team must have searched and processed this place beforehand. They couldn't really let them get into danger. Bai Muchuan, who was comforting himself, saw the bushes in front of him shaking again, just as he was staring at the bushes intently. Just less than a meter behind him, a bird spread its wings and let out a strange cry of wow. Bai Muchuan was so scared that he trembled all over. Ah! What was annoying, image, dignity, at that moment, all was thrown behind his mind. He ran towards the direction where Jang Kyun left. "Teacher Jang, Brother Jang. Brother Jang. Wait for me." Jang Kyun, who had walked more than 200 meters, heard Bai Muchuan's heartbreaking cry, thinking that he was in danger, and turned around and ran back to Bai Muchuan. Although he didn't want to team up with Bai Muchuan, it didn't mean that he could ignore the lives of others. He only saw Bai Muchuan's face pale with fear, his legs were almost leaving after images, and he ran towards him. Such a fast speed. In just a moment, Bai Muchuan ran to him. Jang Kyun looked up and down at Bai Muchuan, who looked panicked, and asked in a slightly fast but calm voice, "What's wrong? Where are you injured?" Bai Muchuan's heartbeat was so bad that he felt sick. He tried to steady his breathing and grabbed his chest. No, I'm not injured." Jang Kyun breathed a sigh of relief when he learned that Bai Muchuan was just frightened by the bird's cry. "Where's your bag?" Jang Kyun saw that Bai Muchuan had empty hands and an empty back. "It's still there." Jang Kyun accompanied Bai Muchuan back to pack his bag. After packing his bag, Bai Muchuan bit his lip and said, "Brother Jang, if you don't mind, can we team up?" He could guess with his eyes closed that once he said this, the haters and Jang Kyun's fans would scold him for trying to gain popularity. "Sorry, I don't really want to," Jang Kyun refused directly. Bai Muchuan was mentally prepared, but he still frowned when he was rejected so bluntly. Looking at Bai Muchuan's frozen face, Jang Kyun explained, "The program team said that the champion will be selected based on the performance scores of the guests. Our guests can also form a team, but there are no more than 3 people in the team. The performance of the team members will also affect the results. At present, you are not my ideal teammate." Bai Muchuan was stunned for a while, looking at Jang Kyun's serious face, and asked, "Brother Jang, do you want to win the championship?" Jang Kyun smiled. The smile was full of "I want to take the first place." I only heard him say, "I cannot participate in the competition, but if I participate, I will work hard to get good results. This is the most basic respect for myself and others." Bai Muchuan looked at Jang Kyun and once again felt that Jang Kyun, who was going all out, was really a well-deserved actor. So, Bai Muchuan also became serious. "Then Brother Jang, why do you think I can't do it?" Jang Kyun looked at his thin body with a little picky, and the survival bag was stuffed in a mess without any order. He felt that Bai Muchuan really had no competitiveness in the survival program. Finding a pet dog is more useful than him. Considering the camera and Bai Muchuan's dignity, Jang Ki-eun did not directly point it out, but pushed the question back. You think you can do it, then tell me in detail, what is your competitiveness? The barrage of music went crazy. Suddenly interview.jpg. So scary, it feels like being asked questions by a relative who is a teacher during the Chinese New Year. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 22. Bai Muchuan looked dazed, ha ha ha, how funny. But don't you think Jang Ki-eun is very cold? It's obvious that Ming Muchuan is very humble. Hey, Muchuan fans in front, this is a competition for participating in the program. It doesn't mean that anyone with a humble attitude can join, of course, it depends on personal ability. That's right, everyone is here to win the championship, of course, the position should be left to capable people, no problem. Bai Muchuan thought seriously, then counted on his fingers, I can sing, dance, and have strength. I am an optimist and will not easily compromise with difficulties. Ha ha ha, Bai Muchuan is really cute, and he actually introduced himself seriously. It's like a primary school student running for class monitor. Jang Ki-eun curled his lips and smiled. Singing is useless, and as for dancing, the beasts will think you are more delicious. Being an optimist is not a good character in wilderness survival. I need to be sensitive to danger. When the beasts eat you, what's the use of being optimistic and optimistic? Bai Muchuan opened his mouth and was speechless. Jang Ki-eun shrugged. Bai Muchuan refused to give up and tried again, I still have a single sleeping bag and some compressed biscuits. Jang Ki-eun raised his eyebrows with interest, that's quite competitive. Bai Muchuan was autistic. Never thought that one day his worth would not be as good as a sleeping bag and biscuits. Although Jang Ki-eun was annoyed with Bai Muchuan, he could see that he was really a little scared. Fu Yubin told him that Bai Muchuan was unlucky to come in. He was forced in by Fu Yubin's half-brother Fu Yuhei as a pawn in the two brothers' struggle for power. It was definitely not voluntary. So pitiful. Just take him to a safe place, or if you meet someone else who is willing to team up with him, just throw him away. I am such a good person. Jang Ki-eun sighed. How about this, you come with me, but I won't team up with you for the time being, do you accept it? Bai Muchuan nodded hurriedly. Just don't let him stay alone in this terrible forest. Chen Ling's stomach growled. She squatted by the stream and washed her hands, then stood up. She was lucky to come across the stream after walking in the forest for a while. In the wilderness survival dungeon, having a stream basically reduces the difficulty of survival by half. Drinking water is the most indispensable thing for wilderness survival. This stream is very clear, but very small, only half a meter wide, but the stones around 5 or 6 meters are very smooth, and it can be seen that they are often washed by water. This stream should flow down from the mountain. It shrank during the dry season. The stream is too narrow, with only a few shrimps and no fish. Even if there are fish, they are probably very small, and catching 50 or 60 of them is not enough to fill the gaps between our teeth. Chen Ling rubbed her stomach, which was gurgling again. She just gave up her own brand of seasoning and said she was hungry. She has been exercising so hard recently, and after exercise, she eats a large amount of muscle-building food, which has expanded her appetite. She is now so hungry that her chest is sticking to her back. Although she doesn't know what tasks the program team will arrange later, before receiving the new task, Chen Ling decided that the area around this stream would be her base for camping. After deciding on the camping site, the next step is to solve the stomach problem. Chen Ling looked around. I have to say that the program team is very conscientious. This forest is very primitive and there is no trace of human activities at all. Even the camera, the crew's cameraman, and the field staff are all hidden very well. She saw that there was a place in the forest in the distance that was full of bushes. There are many small animals who like to visit the bushes, and there are also some edible small berries and wild fruits. Chen Ling walked towards the bushes. It can be said that looking at the mountain and running the horse to death. The forest was full of thick fallen leaves accumulated over the years, and there were knee-high weeds growing everywhere. Every step had to be taken carefully, because if you were not careful, you would step on snake holes, rabbit holes, mouse holes, etc., which could easily hurt yourself. And the roots of these decades or hundreds of years old trees were all over the ground, making it easy to trip. Looking at the bushes that were not far away, Chen Ling walked for half an hour before she got there. She threw away the half branch she used to explore the way, put down her backpack, and hid herself in the shadow of the tree. After a while, the bushes moved. One of the few comments asked a question. Is Chen Ling tired, or did she hide after hearing something? Neither, she should be waiting for prey. Looking at such a dark forest, my scalp tingled. I felt that a strange face would pop out in the next moment. I was quite happy watching the previous part, but now I am also scared. I will close my eyes first. Did anyone see the bushes move? I saw it too. Netizens can see it, so Chen Ling certainly saw it. She still did not move. After a while, a furry squirrel came out with a particularly plump chestnut in its mouth and 2 or 3 chestnuts in its mouth. Chen Ling's eyes lit up. She pursed her lips and made a series of strange sounds. Goo goo, chiji, hummer hair. The program crew and the audience in front of the screen all frowned. The next moment, the squirrel turned its head and glanced curiously at the shadow of the tree where Chen Ling was hiding. Chen Ling did not stop and continued to make sounds. The squirrel hesitated for a while, then grabbed the chestnut and walked towards Chen Ling. As soon as he reached the shadow of the tree, Chen Ling rushed out like lightning and grabbed the squirrel by the back. The squirrel threw away the chestnut in his hand in panic. Chen Ling bent his fingers and flicked the tip of the squirrel's nose, and the chestnut in his mouth rolled out. Chen Ling smiled and said to the struggling chirping squirrel, "I'll grab some snacks from you. If I don't eat you, your meat will be sour and not tasty." After saying that, she let go, and the squirrel climbed up the tree and disappeared a few times. A nearby camera dutifully tracked the squirrel as it climbed to a high branch of a tree and looked down from the shadows. The barrage laughed like crazy. "Squirrel, Mom, you may not believe it, but I was robbed by a monkey wearing clothes today." Squirrel patted his chest. "Fortunately, my humming flesh was sore, otherwise, Squirrel and I wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed today." "Young man, you don't respect martial ethics." Squirrel secret observation.jpg. "Ha ha ha ha, Chen Ling, can you have some celebrity baggage? This is a live broadcast, people all over the world watched you rob a cute squirrel." Chen Ling bent down and picked up the chestnuts. He looked at them carefully and found that they were not damaged. Then he wiped them on the hem of his clothes and stuffed them into the side pocket of his backpack. She didn't find any chestnut trees nearby, but the squirrels took so many chestnuts, so there was only one possibility. The squirrels come here to hide food. She looked around for a moment, then walked to a very big and thick tree, bent down and tapped the ground lightly with the stick in her hand. Especially near tree roots. Tap tap ta tap. All solid. Boom. The corners of her mouth turned up slightly. She found the squirrel's granary. The audience in front of the screen watched helplessly as she bent down and used a stick to lift off a piece of bark, revealing a hole underneath. Chen Ling lay on the ground and dug out acorns, chestnuts, pine cones, and some unknown dried fruit. Soon formed a hill on the ground. The barrage was boiling again. Squirrel roars, "Be a human being. The landowner's food reserves have all been emptied, ha ha ha, I feel sorry for the squirrel for 3 seconds. The squirrel should be lucky that its meat is sour, otherwise the bandit in front of him would definitely roast it and eat it." Chen Ling was very satisfied. Squirrels are masters at picking out dried fruits. The ones that can be hidden and treasured are definitely the best among dried fruits. They are plump, fresh, and not easy to spoil, and there will be no wormholes or damage. She picked a clean palm-sized leaf, rubbed the dirt off the dried fruit on her pants, then wrapped the dried fruit in the leaves, unzipped her jacket, and found a portable bag inside the jacket. This is also the highlight of this jacket. It can be folded and stuffed into this clothing bag, taking up no space. Chen-Ling made GG for the jacket again. It belongs to the conscientious guest who brought the goods. She untied the bag, stuffed the dried fruits wrapped in leaves and the chestnuts she had just stuffed into the bag, and weighed them. The harvest was quite good, about 1.5 pounds. Chen-Ling put the bag in his skull bag. At this time, the number of people in her live broadcast room has more than tripled, and there are already close to 1 million people online. That is, more than 1 million people saw how she robbed the squirrels and ransacked the squirrels' inventory. And she was weighing the bag of dried fruits with her hands, and the corners of her mouth were unnoticeably raised. Someone took a screenshot and made it into an animated picture. That's it? GIF. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 23. There were no berries on this bush, and Chen-Ling was quite disappointed. But when she bent down, she made a new discovery. A rabbit hole, hidden in that thick bush. Rabbits are very cautious and usually dig holes on hillsides. There are usually 2 or 3 holes. The holes it frequents are covered with branches. Chen-Ling felt that she was very lucky. The rabbit hole in front of her was the hole that rabbits walked most often. She bent down and took a closer look. In the dim light, she could see a less obvious trace in the grass. That was where rabbits often walked over the years. The road was forced out after passing through. There are sections of bushes on the side of the road that have been crushed, shaped into the shape that small animals pass by. Roast rabbit. The fat rabbit. There are so many spices in my backpack. And the chestnuts that the squirrel sent to me just now? Chen-Ling felt that the salivary glands in his cheeks were secreting wildly, almost flowing out from the corners of his mouth. I want to eat the delicious crispy roasted rabbit immediately. Just as he said, Chen-Ling observed the terrain and confirmed the rabbit's path back to its nest, the direction of its nest, the size of the hole, the width of the rabbit's footprints on the path, and estimated the rabbit's height. Then, she raised her hand and pulled out the rope from the hood of her outdoor clothing. What does she want to do? Why did you pull out the hood cord of your jacket? Etc. I think she is trying to trap a rabbit. Rabbit. Did I miss any shots? I didn't see the rabbit. When I was a kid, my dad often took me up the mountain to catch rabbits. There should be a rabbit hole hidden in the bush. She just observed the camera was too far away, so I couldn't see clearly enough to be sure. The barrage was discussing Chen-Ling's actions. The people on the program team were also quite surprised. This good-for-nothing little actress was originally the one they least expected. Unexpectedly, she has now become a textbook existence in survival. Their outdoor jackets not only have the function of keeping warm, moisture-proof, and anti-friction, but also because many parts of the jacket can be taken out and reused at critical moments. For example, there are inner hanging pockets for storing clothes, drawstrings in hats, removable zippers, etc. Director He, who originally just wanted to take a look at Chen-Ling's actions at the moment, was now staring at Chen-Ling on the screen. Hey, this girl is really good at tying ropes. I saw Chen-Ling twisting his hat string, which was about 1 meter long, into a strange knot. The barrage's rabbit trapping expert immediately appeared and said that Chen-Ling was just trying to trap a rabbit. She observed the terrain, then found a few Y-shaped branches, took out the rope used to tie her hands in her backpack, tied it on the rabbit rope, used the branches to support the rabbit rope, and placed as the rabbit walked uphill to his home, she climbed to a nearby tree and waited quietly. Chengzai. The family sat in front of the TV and looked at Cheng Ling, who was hiding in the shadows and motionless. Brother Cheng was very pleased. She must have learned the wilderness survival related books I gave her. In the wild, the easiest thing to catch is rabbits. Rabbits have strong fecundity. Although they are flexible, they are relatively dull and easy to catch. Moreover, the rabbit condom she wore was the one mentioned in the information I gave her. Cheng Xiaomei was chatting in her class group with one hand and holding something to eat with the other hand. Seeing her sister on the screen motionless, she lowered her head and continued to argue with those who scolded her sister in the group. Hearing what the eldest brother said, he said with interest, "Brother, please teach me how to tie her up later. My sister tied her up too fast just now, and I didn't see clearly." Brother Cheng rubbed his nose. "I said I gave her the information, but I didn't say I learned it." Cheng's father drank tea. "I looked at Xiaoling's amnesia during this period, and it was like opening up the Ren and Du channels. Maybe there was a blockage in the brain before, and the choking water washed it away." Cheng's mother was a little worried. "This show looks quite dangerous. Can Xiaoling do it?" Cheng Xiaomei is a brainless sister controller, and immediately said, "As soon as my sister takes action, there will be no problem." After making all preparations, Cheng Ling patiently hid in the tree. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour passed, and she remained motionless. Many viewers felt bored and went out to watch other guests. Hard work pays off. After more than 30 minutes, Cheng Ling's ears moved and she heard something. It is the sound of people talking and walking. This voice is quite familiar. It seems to be Bai Muchuan. Cheng Ling sighed inwardly. It just happened to be Bai Muchuan. The barrage floated by. "Hey, I just came from Zhang Qiun's live broadcast room, and this place looks so familiar, especially like the place Cheng Ling just passed by." Zhang Qiun, who had been silent all the way, suddenly raised his hand and made a silent stop gesture, interrupting Bai Muchuan's ramblings. Then Zhang Qiun bent one leg slightly and squatted down to look at the ground. In the dim light, the marks of the 2 rows of wheels were obvious. He looked around, and not far away, he found indentations on the grass made by people's footsteps. Zhang Qiun was basically certain that the program team should have put a guest here. "Who is the one?" Zhang Qiun guessed with great interest. Bai Muchuan followed Zhang Qiun nervously and whispered quickly, "What's wrong? Brother Zhang? Is it a beast? Or some kind of savage? Or a ghost?" Zhang Qiun glanced at Bai Muchuan. "What programs do you usually watch?" "The savages and ghosts came out. If this continues, aliens will probably appear on Bai Muchuan's guest list soon. He doesn't want to stay with Bai Muchuan for a minute. No matter who this guest is, he will find a way to dump Bai Muchuan to this person. At the very least, it's better for 3 people to go together than for Bai Muchuan to stare at him and talk to him alone." Bai Muchuan thought Zhang Qiun was praising him, so he was a little embarrassed but a little complacent. "I read everything, strange stories, and deciphering those unknown wild histories." Zhang Qiun saw traces of people walking on the grass, and walked along the traces, saying as he walked, "Read a book. If you want to read a book, I recommend you to read Yinga's book, which is quite informative. The subtext is that you are too ignorant now. Say less to avoid losing fans." After saying that, Zhang Qiun felt a little regretful. "I can't follow the book today. Tisk." However, changing his mind, Zhang Qiun thought that after participating in this program, he could save a lot of chapters. "I feel happy just thinking about being able to read so many chapters at once." Barrage. "Wow, I never thought that actor Zhang would also read books. I am also a fan of Yinga's books. These days, Yinga seems to have been on a roll, updating every day. Are there so many fans of Yinga's books? I think the new book is great. No wonder actor Jong participated in this survival program, he is a fan of Yinga's books, I understand it all at once. The class representative in front explained. The recent popular movie, Amazon Adventure, is a remake of Yinga's book. The protagonist is a female protagonist who is very good at surviving in the wilderness, and there is a male protagonist who is a researcher. It is a thrilling story of surviving in the Amazon. Ah, where can I see it? Cherry Tomato app, it's worth it? Chen Ling didn't know that her book was being recommended by a wave of people in the barrage of the next live broadcast room, and she was a little anxious. This should be the time for the rabbit to return to the nest, but the rabbit is very timid. If someone comes and scares it, it might go home from another hole along another road. Then all her preparations will be in vain, and she will have to continue to be hungry. Chen Ling touched her shriveled stomach and prayed that the two people would not come over. Unexpectedly, at this moment, a fat gray shadow jumped out of the bushes. Jong Kyun and his men came over and scared the rabbit who was going home. The rabbit decided to go home before the two upright monkeys. Chen Ling was ecstatic, but her hand holding the rope did not shake at all. 5 meters, 3 meters, 1 meter, 0.2 meters. Right now, Chen Ling picked up the rope, and the noose on the rabbit was tightened immediately, tightly wrapping the rabbit's two hind legs together, and the rabbit fell to the ground with a bang. Jong Kyun, who was already close to the tree where Chen Ling was hiding, jumped in fear. Bai Muchuan was even more exaggerated. He shouted ah and jumped up to a height of 1 meter. He hugged Jong Kyun with his feet off the ground, and was still trying to climb up. Jong Kyun slowly turned his head and looked at Bai Muchuan, who was about to cry with his face pressed against his, and slowly typed 2 question marks. Bai Muchuan asked tremblingly, "What is it? What is it?" "Bear." Jong Kyun's forehead veins popped out one by one. "I really want to ask you, why do you want to participate in this program?" Bai Muchuan wanted to say that he was forced by the boss's son to increase the ratings, but he was too scared now and couldn't say a word. Chen Ling, who successfully captured the prey, was startled by Bai Muchuan's ah sound. After a long time, she slid down from the tree and checked the rabbit on the rope. The rope was very strong, and the rabbit kicked back on the ground in vain, but it couldn't stand up. Chen Ling picked up the rabbit's hind legs, held it tightly, and walked towards Jong Kyun and the others. Because it was dark, she didn't see until she got closer that Bai Muchuan was hanging on Jong Kyun. "What are you doing?" Chen Ling looked at Jong Kyun's dark face, and then at Bai Muchuan's terrified face. The two of them actually got together. Chen Ling, Bai Muchuan's voice became sharp, "What did you see and hear just now? Such a loud noise. Is it a bear?" Jong Kyun slapped Bai Muchuan off him with a slap. He saw clearly what Chen Ling was holding in his hand and roared, "It's a rabbit." Chen Ling caught a rabbit. "You have such a good jumping ability. Just become an athlete." Jong Kyun could hardly bear it anymore. Bai Muchuan got up from the ground and patted his butt. "I wanted to be one, but unfortunately I didn't pass. But it doesn't matter. My sister said that being an athlete is not good. Not only are you prone to occupational diseases, but it's also hard to make money. It's better to be in the entertainment industry. It's decent and profitable. You just need to be thicker-skinned and more tolerant than the average person, and don't become autistic because of the scolding from haters. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 24. When Bai Muchuan said this, Chen Ling and Jong Kyun rolled their eyes at the same time. "This idiot." The comments were full of joy and ridicule. "I cry for Bai Kinkan, it's so hard to have such a brother. Bai Muchuan is on the blacklist of the entertainment company. Bai Muchuan, who is honest and naive, his agent is probably going to have a heart attack. Everyone knows that celebrities make a lot of money. I want to be a celebrity too, it's a pity that my parents didn't give me a good appearance. You two siblings can enter the entertainment industry just because you are good looking. These days, the mouths of keyboard warriors and black fans are really dirty. Many celebrities have been scolded and depressed. Looking at his shameless brother in front of the screen, Bai Kinkan pressed his knuckles. Kara Kara. This stupid brother. His mentally retarded expression was afraid that others would say he was simple-minded. Bai Kinkan had never felt so tired. She didn't even want to continue watching the live broadcast. I saw my silly brother walk up to Changling, looking at Changling holding a fluffy and plump rabbit, and said with a naive face, "Wow, Changling, did the rabbit fall into the hunter's trap? Did you save this rabbit? So loving." Bai Kinkan was autistic. Changling, benefactor, I was wrong. It was a complete mistake for me to let my brother take care of you. I will break his legs and bring him to your door to apologize when I get home. Bai Muchuan had no idea that his words made Changling feel bad. Don't let it go, it's unloving. Let it go, it's hypocritical. However, Changling glanced at Bai Muchuan, frowned slightly and said as if she was looking at a fool, I am the hunter. I didn't save the rabbit, but... She held the rabbit's ears with one hand and pinched the back of the rabbit's neck with the other hand. There was a click. The rabbit's head collapsed softly, and it died without a hum. I want to eat it. Changling finished speaking. Bai Muchuan. Rabbit. Covering his face in shock, the famous painting The Scream was perfectly reproduced on Bai Muchuan. The comments were boiling. I'm going to charge, show me this, Changling. If I get weak, you will be responsible. You, get out of here, you wretched impotent man. Wow, this move is so beautiful, the rabbit died completely painlessly, the strength of the move is so clever and strong. Brother Ling is awesome. Changling suddenly broke the rabbit's neck. This move was so unexpected that Jang Kyun's brain went blank for at least 5 seconds before he reacted. He had just been busy looking at Changling's trap. The trap was located on the rabbit's path, in the bushes, where the rabbit had a well-hidden cave. The rope of the trap was put together with the existing things at hand, but it was very practical. The rope on the rabbit's leg was the drawstring of the hat of the guest's uniform outdoor clothes. The rope was very difficult to tie, but Changling tied it perfectly. The other end of the rope was actually the rope used to tie up the guests. Changling didn't throw it away but reused it. Then, he heard a click. The rabbit died without any pain. Jang Kyun opened his mouth slightly, watching Changling's 2 slender jade fingers that broke the rabbit's neck. He saw the thin callus on Changling's palm. He was very familiar with this thin callus. People who often exercise know that pulling equipment, lifting dumbbells, and pulling rowing machines will wear out the palm. This kind of callus is a trace of frequent exercise, worn out and worn out. Where is the big-breasted, brainless, useless, and only crazy about the unknown? Except for the big breasts, cough, everything else is a lie. This person is the best teammate he has always dreamed of. Ignoring Bai Muchuan, who was still playing the famous painting of The Scream while covering his head, Jang Kyun extended his olive branch. Changling, are you willing to team up with me? The 3 live broadcast rooms were surging. Bai Muchuan's live broadcast room. Poor Bai Bao, he was really scared. Ah, brother Muchuan, Jang Kyun, who you have been asking for but can't get, actually asked Changling to team up. Changling will definitely not agree. Changling is my brother's die-hard fan. Jang Kyun's live broadcast room. Emperor Jang, have you been bewitched by Changling? No, that's the flower of evil, it's bad luck to be entangled. Changling, are you the reincarnation of a fox spirit? No, I don't want to see you team up with Changling. Changling's live broadcast room. My Ling is so mighty and domineering. Jang Kyun is so humble to ask for help, ha ha ha, I heard that he just rejected Bai Muchuan's team. Ah, Zhang Yingdi took the initiative to invite Changling to join the team. We are about to see the first pair of combinations. Chen Ling will definitely be in the same team with Bai Muchuan. Chen Ling held the dead rabbit and said simply, "No." The entire barrage paused for a second, and then quickly swiped question marks. Why did Chen Ling refuse? Of course it's because Chen Ling is still infatuated with our brother Muchuan. Please, anyone with eyes can see that Jang Kyun is better than Bai Muchuan, okay? Jang Kyun never expected that he would be rejected, and subconsciously asked, why? Chen Ling held the rabbit and sneered, "Don't you just want to eat my rabbit? Sorry, I'm a Lone Ranger. Please don't disturb me while I eat the rabbit. I finally got to eat some meat, and I would never share it with two stars who were begging for money." Jang Kyun was stunned. Then he understood. Playing hard to get. This must be playing hard to get. He, Jang Kyun, the most promising male star in China, no matter who he is with, the other party's popularity will rise a lot. Not to mention such an 18th tier little unknown. Maybe the girl is thin-skinned? I will never eat your rabbit. Jang Kyun raised his hand and said as if swearing, "Is this okay?" Chen Ling took a serious look at Jang Kyun for the first time, then weighed him from top to bottom, frowned, and said, "What is there about you that is worthy of my team? Tell me." Bullet screen. Suddenly interview.jpg. The tide turns, ha 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 ha, Jang Kyun just finished picking on Bai Muchuan, and was picked on by Chen Ling again. Actor Jang has a blank face. Ha 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 ha, my mother asked me why I smiled like a goose. Jang Kyun was blank for a moment, then reacted and began to promote himself seriously. "I have a tent, a lighter, and a bottle of mineral water. Moreover, I am a hiker who often goes hiking outdoors and have rich outdoor hiking experience." Chen Ling hesitated. Team survival is particularly troublesome for her. After all, she can be free and easy to finish this low-level outdoor dungeon by herself. Adding a person is just a distraction for her. Moreover, she glanced at Jang Kyun. These days, she has been cramming knowledge about Chinese celebrities in her spare time, and has a general understanding of the twists and turns of the domestic entertainment industry, such as the quarrels between the first sister and the first brother, the rivals, the press releases, and the CP press releases. She participated in the show to change the image in everyone's mind. So, she tried to draw a clear line with Bai Muchuan. But Bai Muchuan didn't know what medicine he took wrong, and always stuck to her face. Now, there is another Jang Kyun. Jang Kyun's fan base is very large. If she teams up with Jang Kyun, there is only one outcome, being attacked to death by his crazy fans online. Perhaps, the moment Jang Kyun asked to team up, she had been scolded by Jang Kyun's fans. But wouldn't she be scolded by Jang Kyun's fans if she refused? Moreover, Jang Kyun said he had a lighter. Although she had several ways to make a fire, it was a waste of time and energy. She was starving now and really didn't want to endure the hunger and use primitive methods to make a fire. Chen Ling showed a hesitant expression on her face. "Do you have a lighter?" Jang Kyun saw it and immediately knew that he had a chance, and quickly added, "Don't worry, I won't eat your rabbit. You don't have to answer me now, I will lend you a lighter, there is still a long time, and you can consider teaming up with me after you see my outdoor experience." The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 25. This sentence is beautifully said. Two people were given steps. Moreover, Jang Kyun originally said to join his team, but now he said to form me. As a person of the level of actor and singer, Jang Kyun has really lowered his attitude to the lowest level. Besides, it's not difficult to bring someone with you, just a little troublesome at best. Chen Ling scanned Jang Kyun's body. Although this man was thin, it could be seen that he had a lot of strong muscles. He looked like someone who had been exercising for a long time. Just as a tool for serving tea, water, and things, It is also a pleasing tool. So she nodded. Not wanting to take advantage of others, she took Jang Ki-eun and took out the lighter from her bag. I will carefully consider your request to form a team, but I made it clear in advance that I don't want to be in his team. Chen Ling pointed at Bai Muchuan, who was covering his face and shouting silently. Jang Ki-eun immediately explained, Bai Muchuan and I are not on the same team, we just met and went together. The mention of his name finally woke Bai Muchuan from the state where his heart almost stopped due to the shocking scene. He woke up and started shouting, "Ah! You actually killed a rabbit. Cute rabbit." Chen Ling couldn't help but rolled his eyes. Ignore him. Which person with cerebral palsy made him appear on a survival show? Jang Ki-eun also ignored Bai Muchuan's roar and asked Chen Ling, what do you need me to do now? Chen Ling hesitated for a while, looked at Jang Ki-eun, and finally said, help me find some pine branches. I want them to be dry and loose, about the thickness of my fingers. You can break them open and see if they are dry at the core kind. Jang Ki-eun nodded, okay. After saying that, he quickly set off to find the branches. Bai Muchuan entered the Holy Mother mode, oh my god. Chen Ling, I never expected that you would be so cruel to kill a rabbit. How cute the rabbit is. Its family may be waiting for it to come home in the nest. Woolen cloth. Chen Ling turned her head and said to him, I'm going to skin the cute rabbit now. Do you want to see it? Vomit. Bai Muchuan accidentally glanced at the rabbit's appearance at this moment, almost vomited, and quickly turned around and fled. But he didn't dare to go too far because he was afraid. The barrage clearly distinguishes two major factions. One group supported Bai Muchuan and felt that Chen Ling was too cruel. But the other group was more numerous. Survival in a desperate situation. This is a survival show. What didn't Mr. Pei eat on his survival show? Even a lot of things are eaten raw. What happened to eating a rabbit? I didn't expect Bai Muchuan to be so pretentious. Although the program team has censored it, you can see how skillful Chen Ling is at skinning rabbits. In just a short time, the Kung Fu rabbit skin was peeled off. Chen Ling took the rabbit to the creek, cleaned the rabbit inside and out, and washed his hands before returning. This forest is full of pine trees, and in a short time Jang Ki-eun had picked up a lot of dry branches. Jang Ki-eun looked at Chen Ling carrying the clean rabbit and asked with a natural expression, are these enough? If not enough, I will pick up some more. That's enough, Chen Ling nodded. Okay, then I'll go find something to eat. Jang Ki-eun looked at her wet hands and asked, is there a river nearby? Over there, Chen Ling pointed in the direction of his back, there is a creek. There are no fish in it. Thanks. Jang Ki-eun took the lighter out of his pocket and handed it over, here's the lighter for you. Chen Ling took the lighter and saw Jang Ki-eun turn around and leave. She bit her lips and said, hey. Jang Ki-eun immediately turned around, his deep eyes full of expectation, what? The rocks by the creek are very slippery, be careful of falling. Jang Ki-eun's eyes flashed with a hint of subtle disappointment. He quickly adjusted, nodded, and walked towards the creek. Chen Ling ignored Bai Muchuan, who did not dare to look directly at her and the rabbit in his hand. He placed the rabbit on a clean large stone, then bent down and started weeding with the stone slab as the center and a diameter of 2 meters. Soon, in addition to a circular grass circle, she started to pull out all the grass near the stone slab. This circular weeding method is to prevent outdoor fires from causing forest fires. If the fire they started accidentally spreads and burns into the annular open space, it will form a closed loop of carbon dioxide and naturally extinguish the fire. After getting ready, Chen Ling pulled out his skull bag, took out all the seasonings inside, threaded the rabbit on a slender stick, found 2 Y-shaped branches, inserted them into the soil, and fixed them with stones. And then put the roasted rabbit on the stick. Then, she bent down and picked through the branches Jang Ki-eun had picked up. Jang Ki-eun said that he had outdoor experience, and you could tell from the branches he picked up that he was telling the truth. People who have never traveled outdoors would find it hard to imagine that picking up tree branches is also a skill. The branches Jang Ki-eun selected were all dry and hung with rosin. Chen Lingneng could infer from some broken branches that Jang Ki-eun would break off those branches that were not sure whether they were suitable for making fire or not to see if the tree core was dry. Chen Ling gave Jang Ki-eun a boost in his heart. Chen Ling picked a few dry and yellow pine needles, lit them with the flame of a lighter, and then gathered them on a slender branch hanging with rich rosin. The twigs were ignited, and the molten fire lit up. She added dry branches to the branches little by little, and after a while, a fire rose. After humans tamed the flames, they developed special emotions towards the flames. Being in this dark forest is undoubtedly refreshing. Tired of scolding, Bai Muchuan moved to a place closer to the fire and sat down, with his back to Chen Ling and the others, trying to avoid seeing the roasted rabbit. Jang Ki-eun was lucky and found a wild apple tree. He picked a few wild apples, washed them by the stream and came back. He gave 2 to Chen Ling, 2 to Bai Muchuan, and kept a few for himself. This moment was peaceful. Although there were the crackling sounds of sparks and Bai Muchuan's occasional condemnations, it was still peaceful. Chen Ling liked this feeling. She turned the stick in her hand and sprinkled some seasoning from time to time. The seasoning fell into the fire, lighting up blue, green, or white flames. Jang Ki-eun was also silent. The fat of the rabbit occasionally dripped down and gradually sparked in the fire. At this time, he would calm down and think about some questions that he usually tried his best to avoid thinking about. For example, who is his mother? Why did the whole family keep silent? Why was his father so opposed to him entering the entertainment industry? Is it related to his mother, whom he has never met, who is like a taboo? Because his father wants him to go into politics? His brother can definitely inherit his father's legacy, right? Also, can Mu Yingdi give up on him and stop thinking about marrying him? His elder brother, who is also in politics, is obviously the best candidate for marriage for the Mu family, so why did he choose him? He hid abroad, and the Mu family agreed not to force an engagement, so he came back. Will there be a next time? Can he avoid it next time? Until a violent gurgling belly sound ended his reverie. Chen Ling and Bai Muchuan both looked at him. Jang Ki-eun was stunned. The huge belly roar just now was actually made by himself? Jang Ki-eun pressed his belly awkwardly. Chen Ling looked away first. The roasted rabbit on the fire was nearing completion. The strong meat aroma, wrapped in rich seasonings, swept the nose of everyone present unstoppably, including the staff hiding in the shadows. Chen Ling pinched the rabbit's abdomen and checked the heat. It was ready. She began to sprinkle chili powder and white sesame seeds on the surface of the rabbit. The golden roasted meat, dotted with star-shaped chili powder and small white sesame seeds, made people salivate crazily. Bai Muchuan swallowed hard, chanted the spell again and repeated, "The rabbit is so cute, how can you bear to eat it?" Chen Ling frowned and finally couldn't help it. She turned her eyes away from the golden roasted rabbit and said to Bai Muchuan, "Stay away from the fire." Bai Muchuan was not convinced. "Why? Do you think I'm in the way? Can't I get some fire?" Chen Ling sighed and said earnestly, "It's not a hindrance, I'm afraid you'll get too close to the fire and roast the relics on your body." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 26. A happy ha 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 floated across the barrage. Goddamn relics. Help, is Chen Ling so poisonous? Who said Chen Ling likes Bai Muchuan? She looks disgusted. I couldn't help but order a few roasted rabbit heads eating rabbit cold, Looks delicious. In addition, Zhang Yingdi's eyes are almost falling on the roasted rabbit. I counted, Zhang Yingdi swallowed his saliva 8 times. Stop in front, don't spread rumors. Who said Zhang Yingdi swallowed his saliva 8 times, it was obviously 11 times. Chengling, Zhang Qiun, can you stay away from my roasted rabbit? I'm afraid your saliva will drip on my roasted rabbit. I came here to criticize Chengling. I didn't expect Chengling to be so humorous. I turned from a hater to a fan. If you don't understand, just ask. Isn't the title Survival in the End? Clicking in, I thought I was on the Food Channel. If you don't understand, just ask. Isn't the title Survival in Desperate Situation? Clicking in, I thought I was on the Talk Show Channel. Chengling took the roasted rabbit off the fire and glanced at Zhang Qiun. Zhang Qiun was also looking at Chengling, the rabbit in his hand. When he found that Chengling was looking at him, he immediately moved his eyes to the side. Chengling sighed, "Oh, what a trouble." If Zhang Qiun asked, I would give him a rabbit leg. The fat on the surface of the roasted rabbit was very hot. Chengling blew on it in small bites and tore off a piece of rabbit meat. The rabbit skin was crispy and the rabbit meat was juicy and plump. Putting it in her mouth, it was crispy and soft. It was really ironed from the tip of her tongue to her heels. The fragrance made Chengling sigh unconsciously. Zhang Qiun moved his feet and his back, making a sound to cover up the rumbling sound of his stomach. Bai Muchuan couldn't stand it anymore. I have compressed biscuits in my skull bag. I was secretly happy before, thinking that I would not be afraid of being hungry if I had compressed biscuits. Somehow, people always want to eat when they are outdoors. Children want to eat when they go on outings, students want to eat when they go on spring outings, climb mountains, and visit parks. Then this gene that wants to eat outdoors is magnified thousands of times in the forest. Now watching Chengling eating the plump roasted rabbit, Bai Muchuan suddenly felt that the compressed biscuits in his hand were a joke. Bai Muchuan tore open the wrapping paper, took out 2 pieces of dried and cardboard-like compressed biscuits without a trace of moisture, and handed them to Zhang Qiun. "Brother Zhang, eat 2 pieces." Zhang Qiun looked at the compressed biscuits, then looked at the golden roasted rabbit, and was touched by the strong contrast. He took the biscuits and swallowed, "Thank you." The 2 hungry brothers ate the compressed biscuits side by side. Not only was it dry and tasteless, but it was also very choking. "Chengling, Sister Ling, please look at Zhang Qiun's wet, watery, and eager eyes. Can you please give our actor Zhang a rabbit leg?" I never expected that the delicate and hypocritical Chengling would kill the rabbit without mercy. The rabbit was especially delicious when it was roasted. I could hear Zhang Ji and Bai Dis swallowing their saliva through the screen. Don't they say that female stars eat very little to keep in shape? I see Chengling's eating posture, as if she could eat 2 cows. And Chengling eats very quickly, but she eats very well and eats very cleanly. How could Chengling not see Zhang Qiun's burning gaze? Finally, she sighed and tore off one of the rabbit's front and hind legs. Chengling came over with the front and hind legs, and Zhang Qiun, who had been peeking at her, immediately adjusted his gaze. "Rabbit hind legs, here you go." Chengling handed the big and fat rabbit hind legs to Zhang Qiun. Zhang Qiun couldn't hide it, and swallowed a mouthful of saliva, choking on the broken biscuits in his mouth. He looked away and forced himself not to look at the fat leg dripping with oil, and said very firmly, "I just said, I'm not here to steal your rabbit." But his eyes betrayed his heart full of desire. Ha ha ha, at this moment, Emperor Zhang is obviously the same as me who refused the red envelopes from elders during the Chinese New Year. I want it, but I can't ask for it directly. I'm afraid of being embarrassed if I refuse. I'm afraid that the other party will really take it back. The refusal was very reluctant. Emperor Zhang, your eyes betrayed your true thoughts. When you say no, can you stop swallowing your saliva? Chengling looked at Zhang Qiun's face in the firelight, and the corners of her mouth rose unconsciously. This man is quite cute. She stretched out the rabbit leg. "Here, take it." You didn't steal it? I forced it on you, labor fee. Thank you for the lighter and the branches. Otherwise, it would be hard for me to make a fire. Jang Kyun's eyes were full of stars. Is it really okay? Chen Ling stopped talking nonsense and stuffed the leg directly into Jang Kyun's hand. The fragrant, hot, heavy big rabbit leg. Jang Kyun's eyes were almost glued to the rabbit leg. Chen Ling raised the remaining rabbit front leg in her hand and asked Bai Muchuan, "This is for you, do you want to eat it?" Bai Muchuan bit his gums and squeezed out two words, "No." "Elder, are you a vegetarian?" Chen Ling didn't force it. She didn't know if she really wanted to give it, but she had to give it up reluctantly out of humanitarianism. Bai Muchuan didn't want to pay attention to her. But thinking of this person's life-saving grace for her sister, even though she had just killed a cute rabbit, she still explained, "Not really. It's just a rabbit, a little bit like that. My sister is a rabbit, and she has been growing up since she was a child. I like rabbits, so I don't feel like eating them." Chen Ling shrugged and saw Jang Kyun still staring at the rabbit legs and salivating. But he didn't pounce and bite. "Brother, do you have the baggage of being an idol?" Chen Ling patted Jang Kyun on the shoulder and said bluntly, "Are you afraid of losing fans by chewing on rabbit legs during the live broadcast?" Jang Kyun just felt that Bai Muchuan refused to eat the rabbit legs, but he gorged himself on it, which was a bit like that. Hearing what Chen Ling said now, he couldn't help but laugh. It seemed like Chen Ling was laughing at him, but in fact he probably saw through his own inner struggles and gave himself a step up. He said, "Joining this kind of show is all about getting rid of the baggage. As for losing fans, if my fans don't follow me after seeing me eating roasted rabbit legs, then I can only say that what they like is not true." Jang Kyun. After saying that, he grabbed the rabbit's leg and took a big bite without caring about the image. "Woo, smells so delicious." Even though he has eaten in countless top restaurants, Jang Kyun dares to say that the roasted rabbit leg in front of him at this moment is definitely one of the three most delicious delicacies in his life. And Jang Kyun swallowed the rabbit meat in his mouth and asked Chen Ling, who had returned to his original position, "Why does this rabbit taste so good? Is it because the rabbit meat is of good quality?" Chen Ling shook his head. On the one hand, the main reason is that Cheng Daehang brand seasoning is good. Do you want dipping sauce? I also have garlic and sesame oil here. If you need it, I will make you some seasoning. I guess it would also be good to eat as a dip. Jang Kyun's eyes lit up. Chen Ling glanced at Bai Muchuan, who was struggling to swallow the crumbs of biscuits in his mouth. He was holding an empty plastic box containing biscuits in his hand. "Do you still want this?" Bai Muchuan shook his head and handed it over. Chen Ling took the box and poured minced garlic, cooking wine, 5-spice powder, sesame oil, and white vinegar into it. He put it aside, then pulled out a plant from the ground, brought it up to the tip of his nose, looked at it, and smelled it, confirming that it was a sandy field. "For scallions, tear off the outer skin of the scallions to reveal the white scallions with a pinkish-purple color. Cut them into small pieces with your hands, sprinkle them in, and use another scallion white as a stirring stick to mix the seasoning and dipping ingredients evenly." There were still some biscuit crumbs in the biscuit box, but Chen Ling still sprinkled a little white sesame seeds in to enhance the flavor. Here Chen Ling handed it over. Jang Kyun took it, tore a strip of rabbit meat, dipped it in the sauce and put it in his mouth. His eyes suddenly widened. "It's so delicious, ma'am. I can eat 10 of this dipping sauce for white steamed buns." Jang Kyun salivated. "Can you reveal your ratio?" "There's nothing I can't reveal. This is about 2 tablespoons of minced garlic, half a tablespoon of 5-spice powder, and 1 tablespoon of sesame oil. Every time Chen Ling pops up the name of a condiment, there will be a prompt from the online mall Cheng Daehang that the corresponding condiment is sold out." The manager of Cheng's condiment branch was so frightened that he called Cheng Beizhong in the middle of the night. "Mr. Xiao Cheng. Our online mall is suspected to have been attacked. It has been paralyzed. And the number of back-end orders for many condiments exceeds hundreds of thousands. They are all sold out. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 27. After receiving the call from the manager, Cheng Baishan's heart sank. Being attacked by the internet in the past few days has caused some psychological shadow. As soon as I heard that the online mall had collapsed, my first reaction was that a new wave of cyber attacks had begun. He said to the phone, "Wait a minute, I'm going to check now." After saying that, he hung up the phone, picked up his clothes and headed to the computer room. "Wait a minute," Cheng's father suddenly stretched out Erkan's hand. "Why do I feel that this thing doesn't sound like a cyber attack?" "It must be a cyber attack," Cheng Baisheng said. "It's understandable that other celebrities' peripherals will be snapped up, but we are condiments, how can we be snapped up?" He couldn't think of any other possibility besides a cyber attack. "I think so too," Cheng Xiaomei pointed at the TV. "Could it be bought by Xiaoling's fans?" Cheng Baisheng sneered, "Little sister, please wake up. Even if Cheng Ling bakes a rabbit now, it doesn't prove that she has fans, let alone has such a large purchasing power." At this time, from the corner of his eye, he saw a very familiar interface on the screen of his mother's mobile phone. "Isn't this the online purchasing app interface of Cheng's cuisine branch that I designed myself?" My mother was paying, and she casually glanced at the order details, then went to her own various seasonings and bought dozens of bottles of each. Cheng Baisheng. Before he could question his mother's move, he heard his mother's cell phone ringing. The other party's voice was loud. "Hey, let me tell you, Xiaoxuan, are you being unkind? How come your family Lingling's cooking skills are so superb, and you still hide them? Sister Ching, it's not like you don't know my Lingling's temperament." Chen Mu smiled coquettishly. "I definitely can't forget Sister Ching. When my Lingling comes back, I'll ask her to help you adjust it. Can I deliver the jar of seasoning to your house personally? Your seasonings are so delicious. I know that boy Zhang Qiun is not that greedy for food, so he is full of praises. Hi, my family's seasonings have been passed down for hundreds of years. They are naturally better than those on the market. And my family doesn't want to make a fuss about what we eat. The raw materials we choose for our seasonings are all of the best quality. Tong Su no bullying. Then I'll say hello to my chain restaurants and I'll order from you in the future." Mother Cheng's voice sounded troubled. "Well, I'm afraid, all these condiments in my house are sold out now. Xiao Suan, Sister Ching is not that stingy. From now on, I will pay for the shipping costs when ordering from your home." Cheng Baisheng was stunned. Cheng's father smiled proudly on the side. "How do you think our family's business grew so big? Your mother is a world-class salesperson, and the so-called sales directors of the current group can't even compare with your mother's little finger. This is also it's just that your mother stopped working. Our Lingling can sell out condiments with just one sentence on the show, which shows that she has inherited the gene of your mother's sales wizard. One family is happy and the other is sad." The Cheng family happily watched Cheng Ling show off her talents on the show, and the reviews on the internet were getting better and better, but some people were unhappy. On the nearly 100-inch TV screen, Zhang Qiun gave Cheng Ling a thumbs up and kept praising the deliciousness of the roasted rabbit legs. Mu Yingdi stared at the screen with a cold expression. In 10 years, at least 10 years, she had never seen Zhang Qiun smile so cheerfully, nor had she seen Zhang Qiun praise any girl so sincerely. The camera turned to the other side. Cheng Ling's face was calm, showing no trace of pride or smugness due to the praise. Even if the person praising her is the dream man of billions of girls in China. Snapped. Mu Yingdi slammed the remote control onto the screen. Cheng Ling's face was deformed, but it quickly recovered. "There is a way to heaven if you don't go there. If you don't go to hell, you have to find your own way." Mu Yingdi stood up, picked up the phone, and scrolled through the address book on the screen with slightly trembling fingers. Chen Ling, I originally wanted to let you breathe for a few more days. It's you who doesn't open your eyes. It's not good to provoke anyone, but Jang Kyun. Just when Mu Yingdi found the person she was looking for and was about to make a call with her fingertips, a majestic voice came from behind. Who are you calling? It's Mu Yingdi's father, Mu Yongming. Mu Yongming has been immersed in official circles for many years, and his aura of self-restraint and self-anger is deep in his bones. At this moment, he walked into the living room with official steps, hands behind his back. Mu Yingdi's finger to make a call could no longer press down. Even locked the screen subconsciously. Seeing the panic flash across his daughter's face, Mu Yongming sighed. He doesn't need answers. He knew exactly what his daughter wanted to do. Mu Yongming sat comfortably on the sofa in the living room. The entire piece of high-grade handmade cowhide was sunken, but his sitting posture was like sitting on a hard bench, with his shoulders and back straight. He looked at Jang Kyun's handsome face on the TV screen. The TV is a high-end TV, anti-fall and anti-collision. Mu Yingdi smashed it so hard that no scratches were left at this moment. On the TV screen, Jang Kyun's face, highlighted by the dark firelight, highlighted his angular handsomeness. Kyun came back a few days ago, Mu Yongming asked, have you met him? I went to his studio a few days ago to deliver some tea. He was busy with the show, so I didn't go in to disturb him. Mu Yongming looked at his daughter who was standing straight with her lips pursed. After a while, he asked, does it have to be Kyun? Is Killen not okay? Although Killen looks serious now, I remember that he was very nice to you when we were young. Think about it carefully. Killen will be of great help to your future development. Jang Killen, Jang Kyun's brother. He is a character that is difficult to get close to. He is nice to me just because I get along well with brother Kyun, and he takes care of me by the way. Life must be full of boredom with that kind of person. But Jang Kyun is different. He is gentle, kind, handsome, and never kowtows to me because of his special status. Mu Yingdi said word by word, yes. It can only be Jang Kyun. So, are you going to take action against this little star? What are you going to do? Mu Yongming pointed at Chen Ling's face on the screen. Mu Yingdi was stunned. Mu Yongming sighed, do you think your little tricks are unnoticed? Even I know everything. A few years ago, an actress in the same crew made a few jokes with Jang Kyun, and you found someone to punish the actress. And the year before last, Jang Kyun just sang a song with the female singer who came from a talent show, and you sent people to blacken the female singer on the internet and fabricate black material. She did these things very secretly. How did her father know? Jang Kyun refused to get engaged to you, and even announced his indefinite retirement and ran abroad. He didn't come back until I told his agent that the engagement would be discussed later. Mu Yongming stared at his daughter's face and said mercilessly, why do people say that he is serious when he is working and never says a word to the female stars in the same crew? He is afraid of implicating other female stars. So, do you think he knows nothing? Mu Yingdi's face became terrible. Mu Yongming felt that he had neglected his daughter's education over the years. Usually, his daughter would always get what she wanted, but Jang Kyun was the first person she couldn't get. And he really liked Jang Kyun. Mu Yongming stood up and patted his daughter's shoulder, a forced melon is not sweet. You should take care of yourself. After that, he opened the door of the living room. Just as he was about to step out, he suddenly stopped and turned back. A few days ago, that female star, Mu Yongming pointed at the TV with his chin. Chen Ling was cleaning up the fire, she drowned in Haishi. You were also in Haishi at that time, right? Mu Yingdi's heart trembled, and he quickly put on a stern face, I was there. But I didn't know she drowned. Mu Yongming's eyes flashed, I hope you don't do anything out of line. You know, I can't stand the slightest storm now. Be restrained, be more careful, and don't cheat your father. Looking at the closed door of the living room, Mu Yingdi exhaled. He had touched drugs that he shouldn't have touched, and this matter must not be let Dad know. She really couldn't do anything to Changling at this moment. Even her father knew about her little moves. What if she did something to Changling and got into trouble instead? Mu Yingdi bit her lip and looked at Changling on the screen. After cleaning up the fire, Changling refused Zhang Qiun's tent and found a big tree to shelter her from the wind and rain and sat down. Brother Qiun is a little son, serious and responsible. He participated in the program and praised the guests of the same program group. It is also a routine operation and human nature. Don't worry about it. The program is only 3 days and 3 nights. Brother Qiun participated in this program for his friend Fu Yubin. He participated in the first episode and his popularity increased. He will not participate in the second season. Mu Yingdi comforted herself. As long as Zhang Qiun is not tempted, everything will be fine. However, Mu Yingdi couldn't stand this breath, but her father warned herself that Changling was in the limelight recently and she really shouldn't touch her without authorization. But, Changling, I can't touch you, but I can touch your family. Netizens don't know that you are the eldest daughter of the Cheng family. Do you think I don't know it either? You are promoting your products in a big way on the live show, then let's start with your products. Mu Yingdi coldly took out his phone again. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Bulletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 28. Changling wrapped up the leftover bone residue, dug a deep pit with Bai Muchuan's portable engineer shovel, put the food residue in, and carefully covered it. Zhang Qiun was helping. As he covered it with soil, he asked, "Why do we need to bury it?" "Because I'm afraid there will be wild beasts coming at night smelling the fragrance." Seeing Zhang Qiun burying the soil seriously, Changling simply stood up and said, "I'm going to wash my hands." "Okay. Watch your step." Changling went to the stream, washed his face with the stream water, rinsed his mouth, stood up and stretched. The forest in late summer is a natural place to escape the heat. The temperature is just right, and the breeze gently blows on your face soaked in water, which is particularly pleasant. After stealing some time, Changling went back. Zhang Qiun and Bai Muchuan were chatting casually. When Changling came back, they went to the stream to clean up together. Changling felt a little sleepy and couldn't help but yawn. "Get ready for bed." She dragged her backpack over, took out the bag of dried fruits, dug a hole with branches at the edge of the fire, poured all the dried fruits in, covered it with stones, and placed a few thicker sticks on the stones. Branches. The dried fruits baked in this way will retain the sweetness of the dried fruits without being dried out. Then, she started building her own little wild shed. First find a few thicker and longer sticks. When Zhang Qiun and Bai Muchuan came back, they saw Changling lying next to a big tree spreading dry branches on the ground. "Changling, what are you doing?" Bai Muchuan asked curiously. Changling stood up and dragged 2 branches from the side with wrists as thick as half a person's height. As he dragged them, he said, "Build a small shed." Small shed. Zhang Qiun was stunned for a moment, then realized her intention. "Hey, I have a tent that can accommodate you. The tent is yours, you don't have to give it to me. Besides, I prefer this kind of shed to a tent." Changling is not being pretentious. She has strong hands-on skills and can set up a wild tent in a matter of minutes. Moreover, sleeping in a tent has a low safety factor and makes it difficult to detect danger. Zhang Qiun opened his mouth, unable to think of any reasonable reason to persuade Changling to accept his tent. Besides, he was still begging to join Changling's teammates. If he forcefully sells his tent at this time, he is suspected of selling a favor. So, he simply rolled up his sleeves and helped Changling set it up. "What do you need me to do?" "Ah, Chen Ling was stunned. She knew Jiang Qiun had good intentions, but others really couldn't help. At this time, the fire crackled. Please help fill the fire with some branches. Use a higher fire to roast the dried fruits. Bai Muchuan folded his arms and watched the excitement. Not to mention, Chen Ling's tent setup was really pleasing to the eye. Not to mention how good looking she is, her hands-on ability is super strong, and the process of piecing together a bunch of bits and pieces gives people a sense of creative pleasure. She put a branch as thick as her wrist on a half-high tree nearby. The rope she had used to tie her hands to tie the rabbit came in handy again. One end of the rope tied the branch to the top of the small tree, forming a simple triangular stand. Then she dragged vines from the side and put them on the triangular wooden frame, wrapping them around and around. Jiang Qiun had already added firewood and stood aside to watch. In just a few minutes, a wild vine hut in the shape of a reduced pyramid rose from the ground. Jiang Qiun's eyes lit up. The gene that humans like small tents revived instantly. The simple but not simple green tent in front of me makes people want to get in. Jiang Qiun felt it was amazing. Chen Ling doesn't look like an ordinary little star at all. Instead, he looks like an old hunter who has lived in the wild mountains all year round, familiar and indifferent. He is considered an expert in outdoor travel, but his outdoor activities are all based on high-tech and convenient products. Chen Ling, who uses nature's resources to survive, is definitely the king of outdoor travel. I feel like you are very suitable for this show. Jiang Qiun watched as Chen Ling flexibly wrapped the last few vines around the wooden support with both hands. A simple small vine house had been formed, and couldn't help but ask, I used to often going to play outdoors. Chen Ling came up with the words he had prepared long ago, it's not that often. When I was a child, I went to the mountains to play with my grandfather. Moreover, before going on the show this time, my family and my agent did enough homework for me. Learned a lot of skills. It's useless to sharpen one's weapons in battle. The truth is this. But your current technique doesn't look like something you learned on the fly. That must have been when I was a kid. Jiang Qiun suddenly felt curious about the girl in front of him. However, the curiosity was quickly suppressed. With Mu Yingdi around, he didn't want to be curious about any woman. Likewise, Chen Ling's grandfather in front of the screen frowned. When did I take you to the mountains to play? The most you can do is go into the sea and touch shells. Bai Muchuan, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said, Chen Ling, it must be very uncomfortable to sleep in your cabin, right? I have a sleeping bag here, take it and use it. Chen Ling was quite surprised. Bai Muchuan has always avoided him like a snake or a scorpion, but he can still carry forward the spirit of a gentleman. Regarding his words, Chen Ling didn't want to make him feel too pitiful. After the hut was set up, she stood up, clapped her hands, and said to Bai Muchuan with a faint smile, no need for now. I'll let you know when I need it. It's easy to detect danger when living in a tent. In Chen Ling's eyes, a sleeping bag is like a cocoon. Even though there was no danger now, her instinct still made her choose to give up the sleeping bag. She picked up a wooden stick and walked towards the fire, raising her chin at Bai Muchuan. Bai Muchuan, are you hungry? Do you want to eat dried fruits? Dried fruit, Bai Muchuan and Jiang Qiun said in unison. Chen Ling did not answer, but used a wooden stick to pull aside the branches with dried fruits buried on the side of the fire, and used the stick to pry open a few hot stones to reveal the roasted dried fruits underneath. The aroma of dried fruits wafts around. Bai Muchuan clapped his hands, I just said that I smelled the fragrance just now. I thought it was the smell of burned pine branches, but it turned out to be dried fruits. Hey, Chen Ling, where did you get the dried fruits? Is it a supply package? Chen Ling used a stick to pull out all the dried fruits from the pit, and separated the cracked chestnuts, acorns, and pine nuts that could not be held in the pine cones among the ashes of the fire, and divided them into two piles. No, Chen-Ling didn't bother to explain, so as to save Bai Muchuan from having a mother's heart burst and stop eating. I picked up the dried fruits. I'll give you this pile. Just tell me whether you want it or not, right? Bai Muchuan glanced at Chen-Ling hesitantly. Can I eat it? The forest doesn't have such good preservation conditions, and they might just be damaged, rotten, or insect-bitten dried fruits. Chen-Ling said in a brisk tone, of course you can eat it. It was selected by a professional dried fruit selector. It's an advantage for you. Barrage. The robbed squirrel, listen to me and thank you, because of you, I became a master. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 29. Sure enough, Chen-Ling still likes Bai Muchuan, as proved by giving him dried fruits. I think Chen-Ling didn't want to give it to her before. It was Bai Muchuan who said he wanted to give her a sleeping bag, and Chen-Ling said he wanted to give her nuts. I think so. Chen-Ling is the kind of person who respects me a foot and I respect you a foot. And whether you like someone or not can be seen from their eyes so far. Has Chen-Ling given Bai Muchuan an extra glance? Not at all. Maybe it's to cooperate with the company's hype anyway. Both of them are from the same company, and the hype created by them will not make it easier for outsiders. Chen-Ling gave him half of the roasted dried fruits, and she wanted to keep the rest for emergencies. She used a wooden stick to poke at her pile of dried fruits. The chestnuts had so much flesh that they would burst open at the slightest touch. It's easy to get burned. She raised her head and said to Bai Muchuan, be careful when you eat it. The freshly roasted dried fruits are easy to explode. Bai Muchuan glanced at Chen-Ling with suspicion and vigilance, then looked at the dried fruits and swallowed. No words were spoken. Chen-Ling looked at Bai Muchuan's cautious expression and was speechless. I am not a savage beast, do I need to be so defensive? Don't worry, it's not poisoned and it doesn't have any special meaning. You don't have to worry about what I will do to blackmail you. After thinking about it, Chen-Ling continued to talk casually. It's not easy for your sister to take good care of you. She told me that she wanted me to take care of you on the show. The entertainment industry is chaotic and deep. It is not easy for Bai Kinkan, a beautiful star, to not only protect herself and work hard, but also take care of such a younger brother with cerebral palsy. Chen-Ling thought sincerely. At the other end of the screen, 2 lines of hot tears streaked across Bai Kinkan's face. More than 10 years. More than 10 years. She never thinks about how much she has suffered because of her cerebral palsy brother. Even if someone feels sorry for her, she never takes it seriously. On the contrary, a casual sentence from the program Mile Ling made Bai Kinkan's eyes sore. He even wanted to snuggle into Chen-Ling's arms and listen to her say a few words of love for him. What's wrong with you? Bai Kinkan wiped his tears. His eyes could not be swollen from crying, otherwise Big K would have to scold himself to death tomorrow. She couldn't bear to take her eyes away from Chen-Ling's face. Chen-Ling's face was something I always hated in the past. Now it is so pleasing to the eye no matter how you look at it. Is it just because she saved herself? It doesn't seem to be entirely. No matter so much, Bai Kinkan grabbed her phone and looked through her address book. She must find a way to help Chen-Ling get along well in the entertainment industry. Bai Muchuan, who was thousands of miles away, lowered his guard and said, then I won't be polite. For the sake of my sister, I will feel at ease eating it. He was also so hungry that he didn't care about the heat and picked up a chestnut from the ashes. I was burned unprepared, and then my hands were flailing, and I was blowing air conditioner from my mouth. When it was no longer so hot, I casually rubbed the black ash on the surface of the chestnut on my pants a few times, and then bit open the chestnut with my teeth. His face was covered in ashes. Bai Muchuan's eyes suddenly lit up. Oops. The skin is thin and the flesh is full, golden, and elastic, and the unique aroma of chestnuts instantly fills the mouth and nose. Fragrant and soft. Bai Muchuan kept shouting, "Wow! These chestnuts are so delicious. Brother Zhang, don't you try one?" Zhang Qiun raised his eyes and saw that Chen Ling was loading another pile of dried fruits into a cloth bag, obviously not intending to give them to him. Although he wanted it, Zhang Qiun couldn't have it. So, he swallowed and refused, "No, I'm full of rabbit legs." "How can a rabbit leg be full?" Chen Ling understood in her heart, but she didn't say anything and silently lowered her head to collect the dried fruits. She didn't want to get too involved with these two male celebrities. Giving dried fruits to Bai Muchuan out of humanitarianism is also a banner of Bai Kinkan. Even if the black fans arrange something for her in the future, his company can come out and declare that Chen Ling only takes care of Bai Muchuan for the sake of Bai Kinkan's face. Zhang Qiun listened to Bai Muchuan blowing the dried fruits and praised them repeatedly as he ate them. He watched Chen Ling carefully put away the dried fruits and put them back into her backpack. When Chen Ling sat down again, he asked, "You have these dried fruits. Is there any special way to bake it?" "There is no special roasting method. The main thing is that the dried fruits are of good quality. They are delicious if they are cooked casually." Bai Muchuan froze as he ate the dried fruits. "Are the dried fruits in this place so good? When the show is over, I will definitely buy £100 and take it back to my sister." Poor Bai Muchuan didn't know that what was waiting for him after he got off the show was a punch from his elder sister. Chen Ling filled the fire with branches again, and Zhang Qiun was beside him to help. A few more branches were placed behind the fire, and choking blue smoke rose. Chen Ling picked out the firewood that was smoking green, covered it with sand and put it out, and replaced it with other branches. Zhang Qiun couldn't help but ask, "Hey, Chen, Teacher Chen," he chose a more polite name, "do you know why some branches emit green smoke?" "All I pick is dry firewood." Chen Ling is not at all disgusted with the title Teacher Chen. It even reminded her of the days when she was an instructor leading students for special training. "That's because these firewoods look dry, but they are actually very damp. These firewoods should be close to the ground. Because there is moisture on the surface of the land, it penetrates into the firewood, and it is difficult to see the moisture with the naked eye." Chen Ling picked up a piece of firewood, leaned into the firelight and looked carefully, and handed it to Zhang Qiun. "Look, this side of this firewood should be close to the ground. You can press it lightly with your fingers and feel the moisture." A strange sense of familiarity came up. Zhang Qiun blurted out, "Yinga." Chen Ling snapped the firewood in her hand. She slowly raised her head. A chill came from nowhere, and Zhang Qiun couldn't help shivering. "Huh?" Chen Ling stared into his eyes and uttered a single syllable. Zhang Qiun rubbed the goosebumps on his arms, wrapped his clothes tightly, and continued, "Have you read the book of this author?" The chill disappeared without a trace. Chen Ling lowered her head, picked up a stick, and continued to stir the fire. "I know a little bit." To be honest, her scalp was numb just now. She thought that the vest of her identity as a writer had fallen off. For a moment, she even thought of how to silence her. Zhang Qiun didn't know that the girl in front of the fire had a momentary killing intention, but was extremely excited. "I like Yinga. If I can play a role in a Yinga work once in my life, I will die without regrets." Zhang Qiun looked longing. "I like her first work the most, and I like hiking because of this work. Just now, you explained to me how to choose firewood, which made me think of the heroine in it." Speaking of idols, Zhang Qiun chattered non-stop. "I guess he must be a muscular and intelligent person in real life." Chen Ling had a blank expression on her face, and in her heart, "It makes people feel embarrassed." JPG. "I think his book is really great, immersive, especially the Amazon adventure part, full of twists and turns. After reading it, I went to Amazon and found it was exactly the same as what the author wrote. Jang Ki-eun took a breath, and seeing that Chen Ling had no reaction as before, he belatedly asked, "What do you think of his book?" Chen Ling pursed her lips. What could she say? Praise it, it feels shameless. Criticize it, after all, it is also a work that she has put a lot of effort into. So, she could only vaguely say, not bad. The character portrayal is not deep enough, but the plot is still attractive. The smile on Jang Ki-eun's face disappeared. Barrage. Ha ha ha, just like when I try my best to recommend my idol to my friends, but the other party calmly analyzes the shortcomings of the idol. Actor Jang is visibly unhappy. Jang Ki-eun OS, you can criticize me, but you can't criticize my idol, okay? The soul travels through the 18th line, the female agent is killing crazy in the entertainment. Author, Buletin Yehoyun Li. Chapter 30. Isn't it that Chen Ling doesn't know a lot of Chinese characters and doesn't even want to memorize his lines, he only speaks 1, 2, and 3 on the spot and relies on dubbing later. Can you actually read Yang Ji's books? So, for all these years, we have wrongly blamed Chen Ling? Jang Ki-eun sat upright with an unusually serious expression. His writing skills are profound and he depicts the characters with great depth. A professor from the Department of Literature at Columbia University even wrote a special column to praise his writing skills. There is also an Amazon platform. There are many below famous book reviewers have all left 5-star reviews. Every time I read the book, my mood will rise and fall with the characters. Unfortunately, I don't know who Yinga is in real life, otherwise I would have spent a lot of money to buy his autograph. There's no need to praise me so exaggeratedly. Chen Ling was a little embarrassed. With such a book lover, she must work harder and write books well. While he was encouraging himself in his mind, he found that Jang Ki-eun was still looking at him with a stern look, with an expression like, if you don't accept my idol, I will have endless love with you. She could only nod, yes, it is indeed very good. Jang Ki-eun then released Chen Ling. Besides, he is also very diligent, even though he used to be a coward who often released readers' pigeons. I believe she must have some difficulties that prevent her from updating. No matter what he said, I will always support him. If I could meet him, I think I would be so excited that I wouldn't be able to sleep for several days. Chen Ling glanced at him. You've seen it? She didn't want to continue discussing this topic, so she changed her tone and said, speaking of which, how should we arrange the order of the vigil tonight? Bai Muchuan, who was munching on dried fruits like a squirrel and had a great time with his face turned dark, stopped for a moment and his whole body stiffened. I'm coming. Chen Ling's wolf ambition was finally exposed. The moon is dark and the wind is high, and a lonely man and a widowed woman are holding out their hands and unable to see anything. They are crying in the wilderness where the sky is not responding and the earth is not working. Moreover, Chen Ling is also a woman with great strength, good skills, and nymphomaniac. Bai Muchuan silently clutched the collar of his clothes, slowly put down the nutshell in his hand, and said tremblingly, do you still need to keep vigil? You don't naively think that the 3 of us can sleep tonight, right? Aren't you afraid of wild beasts coming to take us away? We must take turns to keep vigil. Chen Ling ignored Bai Muchuan, who was already performing a restricted adult movie in his heart. Several other members of the program team will definitely stay up late tonight. Several others. Jang Ki-eun then remembered that he was recording a program at the moment. He actually just forgot about recording the show. It's just as comfortable as traveling outdoors with other travelers. And this feeling was brought to him by the opposite party, Chen Ling. Chen Ling didn't feel stiff or behaved in front of the camera at all, just like a natural outing. Jang Ki-eun nodded. When he mentioned the program team, he couldn't help but start to question, are we just spending these 3 days here? The program team didn't give us any goals or anything. Chen Ling squatted in the vine hut, fumbled to clean the floor, and replied in the room, don't be ridiculous, the way the show team sent us here, they will definitely not let us go so easily. I guess they must have done it in the middle of the night. They will come to us and give us tasks. Tomorrow will be very difficult, so try to stay strong tonight. The program group holding task cards and task items. I don't know what happened to the others. Bai Muchuan swallowed the last chestnut, licked the chestnut shell with lingering interest, and rolled the residue inside into his mouth. Do they have anything to eat? There are a lot of things to eat in this forest. Chen Ling glanced at Bai Muchuan. Eating is not a big deal, mainly drinking. If you want to find other people, I suggest you follow the creek to find them. Hungry for a few meals you can't die, but you can't be thirsty. The program team must consider the personal safety of the guests, so there is a high probability that they will dump the guests near the creek. Program team. They did throw the guests down the creek. If the guests cannot find Zioxy, they will secretly send clues and subsequent tasks to each guest tonight. After Chen Ling said this, they came out to assign tasks later, giving the impression that Chen Ling got the script. Zhang Qiun couldn't help but feel ashamed. He had forgotten all these things by himself, but Chen Ling could make fires, cook, and set up tents by himself, and he could still think about these things so clearly. You can't let a girl take care of you like this, right? He also has to find a way to take care of other people. So, Zhang Qiun cleared his throat, glanced at Chen Ling, and then at Bai Muchuan, whose face was full of gray and gray. Wipe your stained face first. Then, he said, let's do it, Chen Ling, you stay vigil tonight, and I'll go to sleep now. If you can't hold it anymore, wake me up, and I'll stay vigil again. When dawn comes, I'll change to Bai Muchuan. Chen Ling smiled. This was for her and Bai Muchuan. Although there is no way to know the specific time, it will probably not be past 9 o'clock in the evening. The biological clock of modern people means that it is impossible to feel sleepy before 12 o'clock. But she, Chen Ling, was an exception. In order to ensure her energy and strength, she can sleep in seconds. She can also stay up for several days without rest in order to complete the task. Judging from Zhang Qiun's current state, it was impossible for him to fall asleep now, but he chose the first round of vigil, which at best was a false nap. When Chen Ling and Bai Muchuan fell asleep, he would stay up all night. She, the most outstanding member of the H-Rangers, Chen Ling, who had so many medals of achievement that she could overwhelm anyone, was a super agent who would never have died if she hadn't been secretly cheated by her adoptive father, and now, someone actually wants to take care of herself without knowing her own limitations. Ha, funny. Who are you looking down on? I originally wanted to be alone. Not to mention not sleeping for one night, I can even go without sleep for 3 days and 3 nights, Chen Ling said. Wow. What a big mouth. Zhang Qiun wanted to say something, but Chen Ling raised her hand to interrupt him. However, if the 3 of us meet, we will spend the night together tonight. I will stay up first. As long as one of you 2 falls asleep, the other one who is awake will wake me up. Her tone was not to be refused. It made people want to agree subconsciously. The word okay was on the tip of his tongue, but Zhang Qiun swallowed it hard. He frowned and said, we 2 grown men can't let you stay up all night alone, right? Ha! 2 grown men? Chen Ling hated it most when people looked down on her because she was a woman. If it weren't for me, you 2 would have been hungry tonight. If it weren't for me, you 2 would have been torn apart by bugs tonight, Chen Ling sneered. Bugs, bugs, Bai Muchuan's face turned pale. Even Zhang Qiun was stunned. What bugs? Come to think of it, it really seemed that he hadn't seen any bugs. Zhang Qiun forgot that he had sprayed all kinds of high-efficiency insect repellent when he was hiking outdoors. So, he didn't notice this abnormality in time. Chen Ling suddenly raised her hand and pointed at Bai Muchuan. Zhang Qiun looked at Bai Muchuan in the direction of her finger. Bai Muchuan was so scared that his hands and feet were cold and he dared not move. Bai Muchuan was very white, and his face was covered with black ash because he had just eaten dried fruits roasted by the fire. He didn't know how to peel chestnuts with his hands, so he used his teeth to peel them. Jang Kyun reminded him to wipe his face just now. Wait, that's not right? Jang Kyun widened his eyes. His face was black, not gray. It was a humming huge spider. Jang Kyun's hair stood on end. He, Jang Kyun, was not afraid of anything except insects with many legs. Ah! Jang Kyun didn't care about his image, pointed at Bai Muchuan's face, and screamed.